into the autumn. I've used it on shallow lakes, gravel pits, weedy waters. I've had fish weeded up. It's come back without a nick on it. I haven't had to cut any off.
Yeah.
It's performed admirably.
Yeah.
And for me, the confidence is in the colour.
That's right. Yeah. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got no problems with using clear lines whatsoever, but a lot of anglers,
yeah,
a lot of anglers don't like it.
And then you've got some anglers. We're trying to cater for everybody.
Yeah.
Some anglers like the white line.
Yeah.
So I've had no problem. I've landed fish to 63 on the Power Carp 12 £, but I'll be sort of plumbing for the Power Carp Ultra.
Yeah, another thing we've done as well. I mean, there's a lot of people out there prefer nylon hook links, and we brought out like the Power Carp Clear as an hook link material. I mean, you've got the best of both worlds there, really, and you're fluorocarbon coated. And
well, as most people know, I'm a fanatic about fluorocarbon hook links. Used them since sort of the invention of fluorocarbon. But I think this, we know Power Carp sinks. So it's kind of creating the same job, but you've got a tougher material.
That's right, yeah.
And it's on a protected spool, rather than carrying around a big spool, bottom of your rucksack. I'm terrible, world's worst. Bottom of my rucksack, you'd find chicken bones and all sorts.
Yeah.
So that in a protected spool can fit in your tackle box. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I mean, the other thing with that is you've got that guaranteed strength that you've got with Power Carp.
Yeah.
You know when you're fishing with Power Carp as a mainline, it's not going to let you down. The breaking size on the spool is a breaking strain that you get with a knot in it, and that's going to be exactly the same on the Power Carp hook length.
Well,
so it gives you that
I've taken it a stage further, Pete, and actually had that tested, and it breaks higher with a knot than it does than the breakage strain states. So if you're using the main line and then that as a hook link, you've got the ultimate sort of strength wise, you've got the ultimate hook link and line material.
Well, you're not going to get that situation where you're playing a fish and you get that little rub and that on a snag or whatever, and it's in your head like, oh, I've got to be careful or whatever. Power Carp as a mainline gives you that so much confidence, and to have that equally in a hook length.
I think.
Whereas if you was using a pure fluorocarbon hook length, you've got little doubts and that is it going to hold up? Is it? That's so strong.
Well, if you got the guys that are making a lot of hook links out of fluorocarbon and can't really afford it.
Yeah.
That's the other way. You get 50 metres on a spool, you can make a lot of hook links out of that little spool.
It's true.
And I split the last thing on main lines is, well, I hand it over to you, Pete. We're bringing out the ultimate casting line, and it will be the ultimate casting line.
Yeah, we've been putting Mark Hutchinson, who you all know. Mark just casts such ridiculous distances.
I can beat him underarm.
Well, I'd like to see it, but it's just he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is,
and how he does it is such fantastic technique. And he's been testing a new Power Carp XR, which is extreme range casting line. The whole idea behind it was to develop an out-and-out casting line, but to have all the attributes of the fishing line, the carp lines that we all want. So it's got to have the strength, the abrasion resistance, and the softness and the castability, which you can't get. So it is going to be.
I think most casting lines on the market are pre-stretched monos. So we know they cast. They're very supple, but they cut.
Yeah.
And what we try to create, which we think we've got, which we know we've got, is a line that won't break. You can cast it beyond belief, and it'll come up against gravel bars and it won't let you down.
Absolutely, and it'll come in as part of the Power Carp family, which is renowned for strength and performance, and anglers actually get what they're paying for, the top end product.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think all aspects are covered, aren't they, really?
Yeah. One other thing before on that Power Carp Ultra, which I've found, and I was really quite surprised when I was fishing, because the lakes I've been fishing have been very weedy this year, is it seems to really disappear more than the clear one. Whether it's because the line's green and you're in a green environment, with the weed and the colour, but on all sort of substrates, on all lake beds, it just seems to vanish.
Well, I think with the change in the weather, we're getting weeds right the way throughout the winter.
Yeah.
So you've got a green environment. And that's why I was really pleased, because springtime you've got all the new fresh weed of all different colours, and that's where the distressed camo feature comes in, because it will, if you've got dark weed, light weed, that will just disappear in amongst all of that. So you're fishing throughout the year with a camo line that sinks.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, next rig. This is one, I've been a fan of stiff rigs for years and years and years. The Ultima Power Stiff, unbelievable material. I've utilised this in quite a few different rigs. This is the main component of this rig. And the idea behind the rig is normally you can't get a stiff rig to flip and turn. I've tried for many years. You know, they do catch just because of the angle of the hook, the stiffness of the material, but why not make it better and have a rig that actually flips in? So I've called this one the flipping stiff rig, just because I couldn't, words failed me, so that's why I called it the flipping stiff rig. You cut off literally whatever length you're going to use. I mean, I generally try and make the rig about 7 inches. A lot of people use stiff rigs a lot shorter, especially if you're putting them in bags. Just cut off a length for the power stiff, overhand loop, just so you can secure your boilie on. Simple as that. Make sure you cut off the right end. There we go. And then we're just going to secure a nice bottom bait on there. For this one, I'm using the Richworth XLR8. Take your hook, and this is quite a key component. I'm using the Fang twister hooks, which have got an in-turned eye. Take a little bit of the silicone tubing. You're literally just going to cut off a few mil. And this is going to be really difficult to show you, but it's as small as this. I'll put it in the scissors. It's as small as that, and that's going to be actually on the hook shank, just to secure the hair down, which is quite a key component for the rig. So thread it down the hook link, like so. So literally, you just got a little bit of silicone down the hook link, and then we're going to put the hook on. So you put the hook on upside down, facing the hook point is facing the boilie, because it's going to turn on its axis once I get to the bend of the hook. As you can see there, and that just gives it stability of the hair, so it's not moving all over the place. And as you can see there, it's as simple as that. Basically, take the power stiff, put it through the back of the eye, and then secure the hair in the position that you want it. You don't want a long hair with a stiff rig, purely because they're going to suck it and it's job done. As soon as the boilie enters, you want the hook point entering as well. So you want it quite close, the boilie quite close to the bottom of the hook point, of the hook bend, sorry. And just do 3 turns round the shank of the hook, take the tag end. Now it doesn't matter, because we're putting a little bit of shrink tube on here, it doesn't matter that I've put it through back to front. So when you're playing the fish, the pressure is not all on the front of the eye, because you can use this rig with a heavy fluorocarbon as well, like the Power Link 18 I've used it with. So I take it out the back, because I'm putting fluorocarbon on, I'm going to bend it. You see immediately already you could get away without using the shrink tube, but it just aids it. We're going to take some of the diffusion shrink tube. I would say about just over ½ an inch. Thread it down your hook link, and you can put this quite a way down the shank of the hook, past the knot, and all you were doing is just going to follow the pattern of the eye of the Fang twister, the same sort of trajectory that eye is going in. We're going to follow that with the shrink tube once we're steaming it. So now you've done that, you can literally take what length you want. Yet again, I've been using this knot on most of the fluorocarbon rigs. Take your granny knot, one granny knot, and then all we need now is a ring swivel. It just gives the stiff rig a little bit more flexibility. If you tied that straight onto a normal swivel, there's chances that can get caught up, deems the rig, it could end up sitting up out the water. So you need it on a ring swivel and the loop. It's just it just gives it a lovely hinged effect. Put on your ring swivel, and then take the tag end back through the loop you've made, the granny knot. Then depending on what size loop you want, feed it down. That's about right, probably about 1 inch. feed it down, and then just take the power stiff and go round twice, because it's quite a strong material. You only need to go round twice, back through the little eye of the granny knot, wet it down, and then get hold of it with your finger or something like a marker pen or whatever, pull it nice and tight, and you've got a fantastic loop knot. Take off the tag end. It's a nice stiff rig. It's nothing sort of, you know, it's nothing too unconventional, apart from the fact we're securing the hair down on the bend of the hook, and all we're going to do now is steam the shrink tube in the position, and then I'll show you how it flips and turns. Try and use some pliers, chaps, because when you're steaming you can easily burn your fingers. And what I normally do, just put it on for a little bit, just to make the shrink tube really shrink down to as small as it will go. Take it out, dry it, and now we're going to start to curve it. And all we're doing is putting a little kicker on. Like I said, just follow the same trajectory as the eye of the hook, and you won't go far wrong. Don't get too close to the kettle. You don't need to. Literally, just hold it there for 20 seconds, and you've got probably one of the ultimate stiff rigs. Perfect for winter time, when the fish are really fine stiff rigs come into their own, up against snags, winter fishing, you know, especially with the clear material, and the fish aren't moving that much. So we can let that go now, and you can see how that sits. That sits very, very close. Just manoeuvre the hair so it makes the hook sit nice. And basically all that does is flips and turns, and you can see how quick that is. To get a stiff rig of this sort of magnitude to flip like that is quite clever. And the fish, literally, they're going to come along, and if they're in, you know, they're nailed to the bottom, over hemp, over spod, the fish aren't going to be up in themselves, moving on to the next bait. They're coming out the edge of the snags, they're literally pinned to the bottom. They're going to be just literally mouthing over baits, and this is where this one comes into its own. Like I say, in the winter time, over snags or over hemp, literally, it's in the mouth, it's all done. And if it flips as fast as a braided rig, you know the mechanics, you should hook the fish in the bottom lip. Happy days, it's caught me a lot of fish, and it will catch a lot of fish, but just to, you know, I've used the stiff rig without the benefits of fixing the hook like that and then the tubing, and it's still caught fish, but it's caught them randomly in the scissors, at the top of the mouth. This one is aimed to catch them in the fleshy part of the bottom lip, and it will give you a better secure hook hold, and it'll also, mechanically, it'll up the amount of takes you get. And that is the flipping stiff rig. Right, this rig is a replication of an old rig called the swimmer rig. Used to catch an awful lot of fish. It's probably not the most complicated rig to tie. I'm using the Hyperlink Pro with this one, and you'll see why. It's got lots of benefits. This is the one with the fluorocarbon that runs through its core. All we're going to do on this particular rig is poke out about probably 3 inches of the fluorocarbon. It's as simple as that. Cut the fluorocarbon off, and make sure you hold it near the end, because you don't want it sliding out the wrong end, if you know what I mean. So now what we're doing is we've created there a hinge part. Okay, we may have to take a little bit more of the centre part out, just depends how good this knot goes. You're taking the Nash ring, just a round ring, and tying it to a 4-turn grinner knot. And that's all you need. There's not a lot of pressure going to be on the knot of the ring, and you'll see why, because it's actually going through the hook. So we do that 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Get hold of the little ring, pull the knot up, and then gently start to slide it down. And you will need a baiting needle or some kind of instrument to put through the little ring to actually get this. It's quite important that you get the knot really, really tight. It's quite a crucial part of the rig. So that knot has to be really tight up against the ring. Chop off the tag end. Simple as that. So all you've got is a supple part of the Hyperlink Pro with a ring tied to it. So the next thing we do is we take our hook and we thread through the back of the eye the Hyperlink Pro. You'll notice we've still got that supple part, and we're going to pull the ring quite close down to the bottom of the hook. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start wrapping the supple part around the knot. And then once we've got 4 or 5 turns, take a few underneath. It's almost like my basic complicated rig. And we've still got the supple part there. Poke that through, back through the eye of the hook. And as you can see, we've created a lovely little ring right close down to the eye of the hook. And what this tends to do is, as you can see, it drops. So when the fish take it in, it's going to claw along the bottom of the fish's mouth. And that's the whole idea. You can fish this one very close to the bottom, so you're almost fishing a bottom bait. And we've got that nice little flexible part for the pop-up, so it's only going to sit ½ an inch up off the bottom. So that's basically the rig tied. Put on your ring swivel. I'll probably make this one about 8 inches. Depends what you're fishing over, but if it's nice clear, I would say 8 inches is perfect. Through the ring swivel, I'm going to go through the knot again. Nice little loop, and then 1, 2, 3 times around there. I've closed that loop up a little bit too small, but I think we'll get that through. That's it. And then just ease that down nice and gently. Get hold of the two and pull the knot nice and tight. And the tag end. And we formed a lovely little loop. Chop off your tag end. And all we're ready to do now is pull the little ring up a little bit so it's sitting away from the hook. As you can see there, that's running parallel with the hook. Just take a little piece of super glue and just dab either side. Careful not to put too much on because it will come through the eye of the hook and make the supple part stiff. So you don't want that. You want it to be supple. Yep, so basically once you've put the loop in position, you've got your nice loop to your ring swivel. That can go into a lead clip or a helicopter rig, whatever sort of lead setup style you like. And as you can see, the way that drops that's the whole idea of it. So it drops in the bottom lip. We'll secure the bait to it. Yet again, it's a pop-up. You can use that with a bottom bait. It will work mechanically better with a pop-up. So I'm securing it just with a loop knot to the pop-up. Pull it up as tight to the ring as you can go. Secure it on twice, like so. Right, trim off your tag end, and there you go. You've got a lovely little swimmer rig. The only thing that you need to put on now is a split shot. Depending on the size of the boiler you use. I know a size 1 will hold these 14mm ones down. The Hyperlink Pro is a really rigid material. It's so you can put that straight onto the hook link, and then you've got a lovely tiny little rig. It's very cute. You know, you've got wary carp that they don't want to pop up, sort of 2-3 inches off the bottom. That will just hang down there, and that, as you can see, that hook. And the idea is that it swims around and getting hold of the bottom lip, and that's why it was called originally the swimmer rig. And that once you've steamed this straight. Literally, I don't need to show you that. You can just hold that, steam it straight, because it's got fluorocarbon inside it. You've got a hinged stiff rig that's got a pop-up and a hook that just sort of hangs down. It's a difficult one for a carp to deal with, and I've caught lots and lots of fish on this one. you know, and I've used it with other materials, but this is probably the best material to use it with, because you've got all the stiff element and the supple all built into one hook link that's not going to peel off, and you know, you can use that again and again. Tie on your new bait and off you go, and that is the modern swimmer rig.
So Lee, we're just back really from Medine World Carp Classic.
Yep.
One of these enormous French venues.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, thousands and thousands of acres. You know, you're fishing right at the horizon. Mainline braid.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I used years ago, to be honest with you, and I was sold on it. I mean, it absolutely. I mean, at the time, I thought it was like using a new rig, because there's no stretching braid whatsoever. You know, when a fish picks up your bait, it gets the resistance from your end tackle and your rod and reel and everything, you know. The main advantage with braid is because for its breaking strain, I mean, it's extremely fine diameter, so you can use like in this case 18-pound braid, which is about the thickness of an 8-pound mono. So obviously casting, it's really good. And like fishing the big French waters, you know, where you're boating baits out 250 metres, 400 metres even, I mean, because there's no stretch, it's such an advantage. You know, you've got instant contact with the fish, and bite indication is a lot better. I mean, the main disadvantage of a lot of braids is they float, which is fine if you're fishing over obstacles and everything, but really, you know, in the ideal situation, you want it to sort of sink down to the lake bed, and this one's perfect. I mean, the material it's made of, by its nature, it does actually float. So the only way they can make it sink is like weave an absorbent material within it, so when it gets wet, it does go down. Yeah. And but in a lot of cases, it then becomes too thick. Whereas this is, you know, it's got the absorbent material in it, but it's still quite nice and thin, so you can still cast it a long way. Yeah, and I actually think you get more bites because of it. I mean, another big advantage with braid as well is fishing against snags. I mean, because there's no stretch, there's no chance of the fish, you know, getting. I mean, you provide you on the ball, you know, with a rod.
Yeah.
And there's no way the old fish are getting the snags. But I'm sold on the stuff.
And Steve, taking braid further with Ultima products is the spot and marker, which we talked about launching when we did the Power Carp DVD.
Yeah.
That's now been on the market a year. I mean, I've been using it and perfect for what I've been doing.
I mean, it's very similar to what Lee was saying about braids. Obviously, this is slightly different, but when you're marker floating, you want to know every single detail that you're fishing over. So if you're trying to find like